In 1959, at an elementary school, students were asked to write or draw something about the future. All of their work would be sealed inside a time capsule and buried for 50 years. But one student, Lucinda Embry, behaved strangely. Instead of drawing, she began writing a long, endless sequence of numbers, as if she were copying something being whispered to her. The teacher thought Lucinda was just being overly imaginative, but after the ceremony ended, Lucinda went missing. They later found her in the school's basement, still writing numbers on the wall with her bleeding fingers. It was as if something was forcing her to finish the message. 50 years passed. In 2009, the school celebrated its 50th anniversary by digging up the time capsule. Each child was asked to open a random envelope from the capsule. Caleb Kostler, a quiet and intelligent boy, received an envelope containing a sheet filled with Lucinda's mysterious numbers. He didn't know what it meant, but the paper felt strange, almost heavy, as if it carried something more than ink. When Caleb brought it home, his father, John Kostler, an astrophysics professor, dismissed it as nothing more than a child's meaningless scribbles. They lived alone since Caleb's mother had passed away, and the house often felt quiet and cold. One night, John looked more closely at the paper. He noticed patterns among the numbers. Some looked like dates and death counts. When he checked the news archives, he was stunned. The numbers matched the exact dates, death tolls, and coordinates of major disasters around the world: fires, explosions, and earthquakes. The more he checked, the more accurate it became. John realized this couldn't be coincidence. But how could a little girl 50 years ago have known about all these tragedies? As a scientist, John tried to explain everything through logic. He searched for mathematical patterns, random probability, or even the chance that Lucinda somehow had access to secret data. But nothing made sense. The deeper he looked, the more he felt that these numbers were prophecies of future events. Still, part of him refused to believe it. He was torn between two worlds: science and something beyond explanation. While John was on the phone, a car suddenly pulled up near Caleb. From inside, a strange man handed him a small black stone. Watching from the house, John saw what happened. He rushed outside toward his son, but the car was already gone. Breathing heavily, John asked, "What did that man give you?" Caleb replied, "Just a small black stone." The atmosphere grew tense. A mysterious man suddenly appeared in Caleb's room. He didn't say a word. He simply pointed toward the window. Outside, the view was terrifying. Cities, mountains, and forests engulfed in flames. It wasn't a dream. It was a vision of the future, a warning that the end of the world was near. Strange things began happening to Caleb. He started seeing pale-looking men standing in the distance, always watching their house. Sometimes they appeared near the window, sometimes in the woods behind their home. They never spoke, only stared, and occasionally left behind small black stones around the property. John tried chasing them, but every time he got close, they vanished into thin air, as if they weren't human at all. That night, John sat alone in front of the television, unable to shake his thoughts. He kept staring at the list of numbers. If the numbers were real, then a terrible event was supposed to happen soon. He stayed up late, flipping through news channels, waiting for any sign of breaking news. Hours passed. Nothing happened. The world outside was quiet, calm, ordinary. But just as he was about to turn off the TV, a breaking news alert flashed across the screen. A major accident had occurred, exactly on the date written on the paper. The numbers were real. John decided to test his theory. He focused on the next date listed. When he drove to the location marked by the coordinates, a passenger plane crashed right in front of him. Flames erupted, people screamed, and the number of victims matched perfectly with what was written on the paper. John was in shock. He realized this was no coincidence, and that the next disaster might already be on its way. John researched Lucinda's life and found that she had passed away years ago. But she had a daughter named Diana and a granddaughter named Abby. After discovering the identity of Lucinda's daughter and granddaughter, John decided to track them down. His search led him to a museum at the city zoo. There, he asked Caleb to approach Abby, Diana's young daughter. Abby said, "Did you know that wolves are born deaf? But when they grow up, they can hear another wolf's call from more than 6 miles away?" Asked Caleb, "How do you know that?" Abby smiled. "I read it in National Geographic." John met Diana, and showed her the sheet of numbers written by her mother. At first, Diana was angry and scared. She remembered how her mother used to hear strange whispers and speak about the end of the world. When John showed her proof that the numbers accurately predicted real disasters, Diana began to believe her mother had left a warning for humanity. Soon after, John and Diana went to Lucinda's old house, long abandoned since her death. Before entering, Diana pointed to a strange marking on the edge of a paper. She asked, "Have you ever noticed this? It says EE. Do you know what it means?" John replied, "Maybe it's the initials of someone your mother knew." Inside, they found an old photo of Diana and her mother. Diana began sharing memories of their past. John wandered into a room filled with newspaper clippings about major world disasters. But one drawing caught his attention, a person reaching up toward the sky for help as a beam of light descended with a sheet of paper. My mother used to stare at that picture for hours. John continued searching the house until he stepped on something, a small black stone, just like Caleb's. Looking around, he found a pile of similar stones beneath the bed. Lifting the wooden frame, he saw words carved into it, "Everyone else." They both froze, realizing what the letters EE truly meant, everyone else, meaning everyone would die. Outside, Caleb and Abby waited in the car. Suddenly, a group of strange figures approached them. Frightened, Caleb pressed the car horn in panic. Hearing the noise, John ran outside immediately. "What happened? Who are they?" he asked. Caleb replied, "I don't know. I couldn't understand them. They were all speaking at once." Abby added, her voice trembling, "They said, 'Caleb and I are the chosen ones.'" John tried to stop the next event. He already knew the location and the date. It pointed to downtown Boston. He called the police, tried to warn people, but no one believed him. When the day arrived, a subway train derailed, crashing violently and killing many passengers. Dozens died, hundreds were injured, and once again, the numbers were exact. John was devastated. He realized that even knowing the future couldn't change destiny.
After going through the paper again, John noticed one last line that was different from the rest. There was no death count this time, just a long series of numbers. After calculating it carefully, he realized it wasn't random. It was global coordinates, a single point on Earth, followed by the letters EE, meaning everyone else. It meant the final disaster would wipe out all of humanity. John realized it wasn't just a drawing. He studied solar activity and discovered a terrifying truth. A massive solar flare was building up on the sun's surface. Within days, it would release a burst of radiation powerful enough to destroy all life on Earth. Diana took the children and drove away, believing she could hide them from the disaster. But John discovered Lucinda's final message, coordinates of a safe place she had written before she died. He chased after Diana, trying to explain that the numbers weren't just warnings, they were instructions to save the chosen ones. Diana finally believed him, but fate had other plans. She died in a car accident. John took Caleb and Abby deep into the woods, following the coordinates to their final destination. There, glowing beings, looking like angels or extraterrestrials, were waiting. They hadn't come to save the chosen children from Earth's end. John realized that Caleb had been chosen to leave with them. Even though it broke his heart, he hugged his son one last time and told him this wasn't goodbye, it was a new beginning. A great ship of light lifted off, carrying Caleb and Abby away to another world, a green, peaceful planet filled with light. Meanwhile, John returned to the city and went to his parents' house. He sat with his family, watching the sky as it grew brighter and brighter. Moments later, the solar flare struck, engulfing the Earth in white fire. The world ended in flames, but life began again somewhere new, where Caleb and Abby ran through fields beneath two shining suns.